Welcome back, guys. This is CIT 124 Introduction to Information Security, and we are covering another chapter, which is computer security, and we'll be looking at different aspects of computer security. Now, the objectives of this chapter is that after completing this chapter, you'll be able to understand what are malware, list different kind of malwares, and identify the payloads of malware, how they are affecting your computers. And then we'll look at that how can we protect our computer from these kind of malwares and explain how to create the backup of the computer. Now, protecting personal computer is very challenging these days, because nowadays the attacks which are happening or taking place on the computers is not limited to the computers. We have all the latest gadgets with us, including the mobile phones, tablets, and even these computers or laptops. As per these studies, after every 3 minutes there is an attack taking place on the computers globally in the organizations. Now, attackers are constantly coming up with new ideas and new techniques in order to penetrate in your system, and there isn't a single program with the help of which you can say that we can protect everything, unless and until you have proper policies and procedures in place. In order to define a malware is a software that enters a computer system without the user's knowledge or consent, and then performs the unwanted and usually harmful actions on the computer. Strictly speaking about the malware, it's a threat vector to the computer, which is delivered maliciously a payload that performs harmful operations once it is invoked on the computer. However, malware is most often used as a general term that refers to as the wide variety of damaging softwares that we have. Now, how can we classify different kind of malwares which are available out there? They are categorizing it into 4 major categories. First is circulation, then infection, third is concealment, and the fourth is payload capabilities. Malwares can circulate by different ways on a computer. It could circulate on the same network, since all the computers in the same network are connected to the same internet connection, through the LAN or through the USB flash drives that we are connecting to the computers. For example, if you had a virus at your computer at home and you bought it and connected it to the PC at work, there are high chances that you'll infect that computer as well. Or they can circulate by sending malicious emails which have all these malicious code or malwares attached to it, and once you download it, it would infect your computer. When reaching a computer system, malware must infect or embed itself into the system. Now, they smartly move it or automatically executes itself when you double click on it, or as soon as you download it to the computer, that it would move and look for the files which is it's intended to work on. Now, there are different kind of viruses, worms, and trojans available which fall under the category of malwares. Now, if we'll talk about the viruses are the malicious code that can reproduce on a single computer. It would keep on infecting all files which are related to that specific extension or what it's intended to do. For example, if it's a virus which is meant to make all the Word documents unreadable, it would find all the documents on the computer, all Word documents on the computer, and it would infect them. Same goes for Excel sheets or PDF documents. If a person whose computer is not infected would copy these documents on their computer, the same virus would transfer from one computer to another. Now, they are using a macro in order to replicate the thing. Macro is a series of instructions that can be grouped together as a single command. Often macros are used to automate a complex set of tasks or to repeat the series of the tasks, and are stored within the user documents as Excel sheets or Word documents. Once the document is opened, the macro instructions then executes whether those instructions are begin or it would replicate itself. So if you have a advanced antivirus installed on the computer, only then it can detect it and it would stop the execution of it. Now the virus appends itself to a file. The appender infection virus changes the beginning of the file and jumps instructions point to the virus, and then it can even split the infection by injecting the portions of the code through the programs by executing the file. Now as you can see that it can jump from code line 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., and as the program is progressing it would keep on infecting the viruses. There are different kind of viruses which are there. Some viruses are there for the program, some are macros which are embedded. Usually Excel files and database files are affected with it, and it affects the executable files which are there on the computers. They are usually embedded inside the documents, and as soon as you'll open the document or you'll enable the macros which are a bit harmful to the computer, they'll just penetrate in the system files. Now viruses are causing the computers to crash repeatedly. Maybe they'll corrupt the operating system files, or they might erase the files from the computer, or they might slow down the computer where once you'll not be able to perform lots of operations, you'll have to format the computer, or you'll have to clean it thoroughly with an antivirus solution software. Now viruses can replicate on the host computer. It cannot spread between the computers without the user actions, but nowadays we have seen there are different kind of viruses which are sitting on the default shares of the computers, and especially the ransomware and stuff like that. They'll sit on the boot sector. Even the antivirus software will not be able to detect it unless and until you restart the computer. You must always rely on the actions of the user to spread to the other computers. Mostly it's our mistake because we are not paying attention to the warnings and the messages which are appearing on the computer, and if you'll ignore those things, it would keep on copying and replicating itself. Spread by user transferring the infected files to the other computers. And now we'll try to understand what are worms. Worms are a little bit more advanced than viruses because it would first infect the computer on which you are working, and then it would look for the computers nearby. Usually they are relying on the default shares which are there on the computer, and if all computers are imaged using the same image, if you want to access a computer through the network path by $, it's going to show the entire hard drive. So if all computers have the same login name and password, it would keep on looking for computers who are logged in using the same username and password. Usually the administrator account, if it's compromised, it would replicate it at a exponential rate. A malicious program that uses the computer network to replicate takes advantage of the vulnerability in the programs or operating system, and then it searches for any other computer on the network which is having the same configuration to spread these kind of worms. Now worm actions, they are deleting the file sometimes on the computer, allowing the computer to remotely controlled by the attacker by enabling the remote desktop connections, and through that your computer within the network or from the outside network can be really vulnerable. Now Trojans, or you can call it Trojan horses, they are the smartly written coded applications or executable files which would be downloaded from the internet, and as soon as it is downloaded, as soon as they'll enter your computer, they'll keep on spreading inside the computer and would collect the information related to what the attacker wanted to get, and it would send a copy of all those details to the websites. For example, if you are looking for a software or an application which is required for your daily task or office operations, you'll find that the file, if you'll search it, it's available on the internet, and the size of that file is very small as compared to the original software, maybe a couple of KBs, because it would be an executable file. As soon as you download it, and if your antivirus is not working or if it's not updating itself, you'll double click on it and the file disappears usually. Then it goes inside the computer and it would keep on infecting the files or the specific information what it's looking for. Usually they are looking for credit card information and the details like your username and password which is stored on the computer. Once they'll get it, the information will be passed on to the attacker, and in those ways your information will be compromised. It's an executable program that masquerades as the performing or the beginning activity while while actually doing something malicious on the computer. Now they are just summarizing all the things. What actions does it do if it's virus, worm, or a Trojan? So just a roundup of everything what we have covered so far. Now, in order to discuss the concealment or the concealers, they are actually the rootkits. It's a set of software tools that are used by an attacker to conceal the information like the viruses, worms, or anything by anti-malware or antivirus solution software. They'll hide or remove all traces of the evidence that may reveal to a malware software that these are not the original files. So they'll modify the operating system files, but it won't let the software, the antivirus software or anti-malware software to detect that there has been some changes in it. That's why they are changing the operating system and its files to ignore the malicious activity. As you can see in this one, the actual and the files which are displayed to the user are a bit different, so that you cannot detect that which file is the new one or which one has been modified. Actual list of files are 4, whereas the files which are displayed to the user are only 3. So it's automatically hiding the file which it wanted to hide, and it does not want the user to see, so that he can make an action that there is something going on with his computer. Now, in order to understand the payload capabilities of these worms and viruses and stuff, when the payload capabilities are primary emphasis of malware, they focus on what actions they'll be performing using these malwares. Either they'll be running or executing the commands, which could be in the form of bat files or batch files. It could collect the data and can send it send it back to the attacker, or it could delete the files from the computer. It can even modify the system files or system registry settings, or it can use the same computer to launch attacks on the computers nearby on the same network. Now they are executing the command, we call it arbitrary code execution, when a payload allows the attacker to execute any command on the victim's computer remotely, sitting at a remote location. Once they have the access to the computer, the attacker would pass certain commands, and these commands would be executed on the computer in your network. Now that could be scanning the network, that could be checking the open ports, it could be attacking the root files of it, collecting the information, modify the details, it could be anything. And that's why this kind of code which is sent by the attacker on your computer is called a shell code, or usually on the web servers we call it a web shell. Now it can collect the data, as the malware is designed to collect the data from the user computer by collecting information without your knowledge. It would keep on spying on the computer. It includes spyware, adware, or ransomware. They'll check what kind of files and things do you have, and then in ransomware they'll encrypt your computer, and they might demand some money in order to decrypt it so that you can get the information or the data on the computer. Now here they are explaining that how dangerous could it be if there are different payloads on the computer. It could be in a form of a keylogger, where it's constantly keeping track of your keystrokes on the computer. Now if you're entering any username and password, it would be copied using these malwares and the hardware or software that captures the keystrokes. And the information can be revealed by the attacker in terms of a PDF document or an HTML file or a simple text file, which would be saved somewhere on the computer. Now there are hardware keyloggers as well, which install themselves between the computer and keyboard and USB port, and it keep track of the kind of data which is being transferred through that. Or a software keylogger which hides itself from the detection of the user. Now payload capabilities, as you can see that there is a hardware keylogger which is there in between the USB port and the computer. So the data which is being transferred from the USB to the computer will be copied by this hardware keylogger. But mind it that these kind of keyloggers, if someone is installing it on the computer, they need a physical access to it. So you'll have to make sure that no external entity has access to the computers or the infrastructure or the sensitive offices which are there in your organization. Now let's see what adwares are doing. They are collecting the user information and deliver the advertising content to unwanted users. Some of the marketing companies are deliberately sending these kind of adware which are constantly monitoring your activities on the computer. Now that helps them in marketing their products, and they'll send the customized banners or information on your computers which you are interested in. For example, if you were searching for a specific item like a wireless keyboard and mouse, they'll keep track of that information, and wherever you will be going on the websites, they'll keep on displaying their products and information in order to show them the options that this is available on certain websites and you can buy it from there. It can collect user information, deliver the advertising content, and even perform the tracking functions that monitor and tracks the user online activities, like if you are going on eBay or anything. And then it's constantly sending logs to the third parties who can deliver the ads to the user. You may display objectionable content could be there, because these kind of advertisements are usually paid. So if you click on it, they are making money just because of the clicks that might take place on those kind of advertisements. Now since they'll know the pattern or the things that you're interested in, they'll try to display the kind of ads which you'll be interested in, and they'll be collecting all that information with the passage of time. It may slow down the computer or interfere with the user productivity, or it can create any kind of nuisance. Now ransomware is the next topic that we'll be covering today. Now ransomware prevents a user device from properly operating until it is paid. One type of the lock of the user computer and displays a message that impersonates the law of enforcement agency, etc., like something like that. A message will be appearing. Now the problem with these kind of things is that they will encrypt your hard drive by sending a malicious code to the computer. It would keep on sitting on the boot sector of the computer. As soon as you'll restart it, it would encrypt your computer, and even it could spread on the network using the default shares or other or different options. Now the problem in these kind of things is that once it's done and you don't have a proper security mechanism in place, the companies end up paying a lot of money to these companies just to unlock the systems. Since the data which is quite critical available on these computers, they don't have an option but to pay them in order to unlock their computers. But that's not end of the story. Once it would start, it would keep on penetrating, and you don't even know that whether it has been cleaned from all computers or not, because as I told you, it would be sitting on the boot sector of the computer, and it won't be executed unless and until the attacker would like it to execute. So now let's see the other part what ransomware could be doing. There are different tools with the help of which you can scan it, but the regular scanners which you have in order to scan the computer to rectify any kind of problems, they'll not detect the ransomware which are there. With the passage of time now, most of the antivirus solution softwares and anti-malwares had updated their definitions and the softwares which can now comfortably detect the ransomwares, but still with the daily movements and the changes and the developments which are taking place every day, they are coming up with some new ideas. So it's quite possible that if someone has created a ransomware and has launched it, maybe the antivirus solution softwares are not all of them are updated with the latest trends which is taking place in the market. Next is logic bombs. Now they are the ones who are there in order to delete the data, to modify the files, and then move on to the other computers. It's a computer code that is typically added to a legitimate program, but it lies dormant until it is triggered by a specific logical event. Like they would keep on sitting, and then it would calculate that when it's end of the month, when you are going to start the final accounts and auditing, it would trigger at that time, and it would delete everything which is there on the computer, and then it would keep on spreading on the network. Most often the logic bombs is based on a specific time or date, so they program it accordingly and then they are executed. It's seen in most of the cases when a unhappy employee leaves the organization as well. Sometimes they try to plant these kind of logic bombs inside, which would take place after a certain time. By that time, they will keep on, they just remain on the computer silently without doing anything. Now the next one is a backdoor, a modify system security, the software code that gives access to the program services that circumvents the normal security protections, allow the attacker to return at a later time and bypass the security settings. For example, if you have not enabled the remote desktop connections or the default shares on the computer, that software is totally capable of doing that. Maybe it would be removed initially, but it has some copies of it which are copied at different part of the computer. They'll get active by the passage of time, and then they'll be ready to launch any kind of attacks. Now that's it for today. We'll be covering about what are zombies, botnet, and bot herder. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much.